Namaskar and welcome to Indian Diplomacy, show on India's national television channel, Doordarshan, about Indian foreign policy, India's international relations, and key developments in India's neighborhood and beyond that have major implications for India's rise as a global power. Viewers, in this episode, we are unpacking a major problematic phenomenon. This is the Islamic Republic of Pakistan and its consistent, undying, and long-running habit of sponsoring terrorism in South Asia and beyond. Terroristan, as we would like to call it, has become a global menace. So what is India doing to counter it? What is the world doing to counter it? And how can we bring this problem under control? This is the focus of this episode. And to discuss this, I have with me a very special guest, Zahack Tanvir. He's a United States-based peace activist who has been closely watching, observing, and monitoring jihadist hatred and propaganda around the world with a special focus on Pakistan. He is director of the Milli Chronicle, a website that uncovers and keeps a close watch on jihad. Zahack, welcome to Indian Diplomacy. It's a grave time for the world and for South Asia, but it's good to have you on the show.
Thank you so much, Sreeram, for inviting me to Doordarshan. It's my honor to be on your show. Thank you so much.
Zahack, I want to start with Operation Sindoor that Indian military conducted using precision-guided munitions, and they destroyed 9 terrorist training camps in Pakistan. It was not just a military strike and also a stern message to Pakistan, but also exposed to the whole world the terrorist infrastructure and paraphernalia that have been growing there for decades. Just the scale of the destruction from our strikes and the videos that circulated where they were conducting funerals of terrorists and also their buildings that were smashed to smithereens, it showed just the extent of the problem that has been festering in that country for a long time. So the whole world saw it, in bare terms. So I want to start by discussing why you think Pakistan has become this epicenter of a global terror and how come they have built up over decades, seemingly without much obstruction, this kind of a massive paraphernalia through which they have been wreaking havoc in South Asia and beyond.
Sreeramji, to understand this, you need to go back to the history, back to 1946 when Muhammad Ali Jinnah, he formed a separate country for the Muslims, and this country was formed on religious bigotry. So the formation of Pakistan was not based on ethnicity, it was not based on language, it was based on purely religious identity. And that's why it was called as Islamic Republic of Pakistan. Then you go back to 1979 when this Iranian revolution happened and all the Islamists around the world, they were empowered and emboldened and they got motivation through the Islamic revolution of Iran. And then you come to 1989 when the insurgency in Kashmir started. And at the same time, there was also during the 1980s and 90s, you'll find the Afghan jihad, which was taking place against the Soviets. So the United States and the Gulf countries, they were supporting Pakistan to wage jihad against the Soviets. And Pakistan became the home and it became the host for the global mujahideen and the Ummah Mujahideen joining Pakistan and waging jihad against the Soviets. So once this jihad ended, Pakistan directed all these militias towards Kashmir through Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Taiba. So the first thing is Pakistan has a history of nurturing the militancy. So this is the first thing. And you mentioned any terrorist attack, be it 9/11 or the London bombing or 2008 Mumbai attacks or the Pulwama attacks or the recent Pahalgam attacks. You will definitely find the Pakistani footprint in those attacks. So the Osama bin Laden was found in Pakistan. So it's no secret. The world knows about it. The West knows about it. Everybody knows about the Pakistan's involvement in terrorism. But recently, the defense minister of Pakistan, Khwaja Asif, he admitted that there have been supporting the terrorists, and they have been, funding the terrorists in behest of the West. And they've been doing this dirty work for the West. So the first thing is the militancy. The Pakistan has been nurturing the militancy. The second thing is the ISI. ISI sustains this whole ecosystem. ISI has the experience of not only training the Kashmir jihadists or the Kashmir insurgency, they also have the experience of training the Chechen Mujahideen and the Bosnian Mujahideen. They have the training, they also train Taliban. They had this Haqqani network and they had the Darul Ulum Haqqaniya. So ISI has been involved, the state has been involved in training the terrorists, and they have this policy of bleed India. And they believe that bleeding India with 1,000 cuts, they have the revenge. They want to take the revenge of 1971. And third thing you find is the radical madrasas. In India too, we have the madrasas. We have like 25,000 madrasas all over India, but you will never find the madrasa graduates getting the combat training, military training, or getting the AK-47s, Kalashnikovs, and the launchers. You'll never find that in Indian madrasas or anywhere. But in Pakistan, you see that the poor youth were picked up and are picked up from different places, and they are given the jihadi training. And last year, in the last year, in May and June, I was with some of the Pakistanis from Afghanistan, from Peshawar, from Waziristan, and from movement agencies from some of these places. And you'll be surprised to know that these Pakistanis, they could not even read, they could not even write. And even if you ask them to check the time, they were unable to check the time. So the height of illiteracy Pakistan has, the height of poverty that Pakistan has. So the poverty and illiteracy is often exploited by the organizations like Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Tayyiba, and obviously with the state support and the ISI support. And the fourth thing is the strategic location of Pakistan. It shares borders with Afghanistan and the line of control. So the line of control, Pakistan has been using that base to smuggle drugs and weapons inside India. It's attempted many times. In 2023, I visited the Social Credit border and I found some of the tunnels India found, and India closed those tunnels. And Pakistan used and have been using those tunnels to smuggle weapons and drugs. So Pakistan has been doing this nefarious agenda for a long time, and the world knows about it, but unfortunately, the world is unable and they're not unified to take action against Pakistan.
Yep, Zahack, that's a pretty comprehensive response. You've laid out both the historical and the contemporary factors. Now, we already mentioned the fact that, United States financed and armed the Mujahideen in Afghanistan using Pakistan as the launch pad. Since then, there is this mushrooming of this jihad culture and this jihad industry there, with tens of thousands, if not millions of young people being lured into this holy war business. But the point about foreign powers, let's dwell a little bit. You have also done research on the UK and how it has been complicit in some of these. The US, of course, has been the main supporter historically of these groups for geopolitical reasons. And now we have China, which again is not an Islamic country, but has been backing Pakistan to the hilt, both in the ongoing clashes and the tensions with India, but even more generally, China has not only turned a blind eye to the jihad problem there, but seems to have accepted it as one of Pakistan's strengths by which they can contain India. So I want to just focus a little bit on these foreign powers. Why have they funded and encouraged this trend?
Yeah, so Pakistan has been playing double role for a long time. Ted Gallen of the Cato Institute, he mentioned this, that Taliban could not have risen to power and Taliban could not have become Taliban without the support of Islamabad. And who supported Islamabad? Everybody knows the past US administrations supported Islamabad to embolden Taliban. So even when you talk about Al-Qaeda and you talk about other terrorist organizations, unfortunately, it has been some of the deep state policies of the West that have supported the jihadist movements. And you will definitely find the trash which is thrown out of the Middle East, especially from Saudi Arabia, from UAE, from Kuwait. The people who are the most wanted people in the Middle East, these people are most welcome in the West as refugees, as the political asylum seekers. So the West, unfortunately, and some of the NGOs and deep state policies of the West have been supporting Pakistan in doing all that. And you would find the hypocrisy of Pakistan in 2001 when Pakistan gave the basis to the United States to fight Taliban. But at the same time, Pakistan was also inviting the Mujahideen and training them and unleashing them against the US forces. And US knew about it. And since 2001, the United States has given almost $33 billion to Pakistan to help United States find the culprits and the NATO forces to help the NATO forces in Afghanistan. So Pakistan has been doing this dirty job by supporting the Mujahideen, at the same time supporting the American forces kill the Mujahideen. And by this, Pakistan has almost lost the face in the region. Now, Afghanistan doesn't trust Pakistan, and you see that Afghanistan has been siding with India. And the second point here is the China. So China is a monster in the region. You would see that China doesn't tolerate any kind of militancy on its own soil. You see how China is dealing with the Xinjiang Muslims. China is demolishing masjids, mosques, and China is replacing the dome of the masjids with the Chinese architecture. China has been replacing the Quranic verses, the ayats written on the walls of the masjids with the communist slogans. But the Pakistan, the so-called custodian of the Ummah, is not doing anything with China. In fact, China has been helping Pakistan with the drones, with the bombs. When the failed Pakistan attempt was done in Punjab, the Chinese bombs were found in Punjab, in Indian Punjab. So China has been doing this, and China is countering the IMEC, that is the economic corridor from India to the Middle East to the Europe. And China has its own Belt Road Initiative, and China wants to have access directly to the Arabian Sea through the Gwadar. And for that reason, China vetoed the UN sanction against Jaish-e-Mohammed's Masood Azhar till 2019. So these powers have been the major, you would say, the enablers of terrorism. They know what terrorism is. They know who these organizations are, and still they are supplying weapons and they are helping these terrorists gain upper hand.
Yeah, so instrumental usage of Pakistan and Pakistan's willingness, like you said, to do the dirty jobs has enabled this jihad menace to grow there. Great powers have tried to utilize Pakistan for geopolitical goals, and in the end, they have ended up creating something far worse for the region. Now, Zahack, let's move to, we already talked about US and China, great powers, but let's talk about some other, regional powers who have consistently backed Pakistan in the name of, Ummah or religious solidarity or some other factors. We see, for example, Turkey, we see Azerbaijan, and to a lesser extent, Malaysia. So some of these countries have also been enabling Pakistan's jihad problem and also beefing up its military. For example, a lot of the drones and the offensive weapons that we have seen Pakistan using against India after we launched Operation Sindoor have been Turkish in origin. So apart from China, which of course accounts for 81% of Pakistan's military imports in the last 5 years, some of these smaller countries have also been drumming up support for Pakistan and also, in a way, not just allying, but also sponsoring this state as it moves forward with its jihad agenda. And it's clear that I think we have to name and shame these countries for being abettors and sponsors of terrorism indirectly, because by supporting Pakistan to the hilt, come what may, they are also feeding this monster that's been growing there. So let's talk about some of these countries and their motivations for supporting Pakistan.
So Turkey has the Islamic reasons as well. Turkey and Tayyip Erdogan wants to revive the old Khilafah, the Khilafah Uthmaniyya, the old Ottoman Caliphate. So Turkey dreams of reforming or re-establishing the Khilafah in the entire Hijaz, the Middle East, and also to cover Pakistan as well. And among the Muslim countries, some of the powerful armies, especially the Sunni countries, you have the Pakistan, you have Egypt, you have Turkey, you have Malaysia, and the Indonesian army to some extent, and Lebanon. So these armies in the Muslim countries are considered to be the most powerful armies. For some extent, Saudi Arabia used to fund Pakistan through religious institutions, but after Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman became the Crown Prince and became the Prime Minister of Saudi Arabia, he stopped this funding. And you can find through the sermons and through the khutbahs of the Pakistani preachers, they have been demonizing Saudi Arabia because Saudi Arabia has stopped the funding to Pakistan. So Turkey has the Islamic reason for that. And in fact, one of the units of the Pakistani police, Dolphin Police, has been trained by Turkey. And you go back to 2020 when Imran Khan was in power, he dubbed the Pakistani drama Urturul, and it was kind of a propaganda drama of Turkey. So it was telecast on Pakistan's national television, PTV, and they did it in Pakistan. And a lot of youth were in the fantasy of reviving the Ottoman Caliphate. So yes, Turkey has been backing Pakistan for the Islamic reasons. And you have Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan's involvement is not full blown, you can say, because when Azerbaijan was confronting Armenia for the Nagorno-Karabakh 2 years ago, it was Turkey and Israel. Israel and Turkey were supporting Azerbaijan, and Pakistan, though it did not have any interest, supported Azerbaijan and stood with the Turkish military in Azerbaijan. And for that reason, Azerbaijan has also been very supportive of Pakistan.
Yeah, so each of them has their own logic and their own raison d'etre and rationale for backing Pakistan. It's important for our viewers to know why each of these countries is doing it. Turkey, of course, is the prime offender and has been using extreme radical Islamist ideology as a basis to try and project itself as a major Islamic power. Although, like you said, Saudi Arabia has changed, and that is welcome news for us in India. Zahack, you have been working a lot to try and debunk and delegitimize the jihadi ideology, and you have, at personal risk to your own life, you have been, advocating for this. So I want to talk a little bit about this whole info space and the information war through which this jihad virus has been spreading from Pakistan, but also around the world. And, Pakistan is often seen as a heroic player in this jihadi universe because it is, as we said, it's the epicenter with a huge infrastructure, and it's training so many people to fight in the name of religion. So the question is, this narrative building, how can we counter this sympathy and support for Islamist and jihadist ideology? And what do you see are the ways and means by which your kind of work can, spread and influence more people around the world? What are you doing yourselves? And this whole, propaganda of the Pakistanis is that Islam is in danger. Muslims are being persecuted, and we have to therefore fight for the religion. This is, of course, totally unsubstantiated and out of context, but that's how they equate Kashmir with Palestine and with Chechnya and with Syria and so many other causes, and they build this worldview, or Weltanschauung as we call it, which is based on victimhood, and that Muslims are suffering and are being killed and abused, and therefore we have to take revenge, we have to fight. So how do we counter this, and how do we shape the narrative in a way that not only exposes Pakistan's complicity and duplicity, but also gets people around the world, especially young Muslims, to rethink and to give up this poisonous ideology?
That's a very interesting question. Pakistan has been doing this since 1946. So Muhammad Ali Jinnah, when he said that the Hindus, the majority of Hindus will gonna be killing the Muslims, so Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, he stood up and he said that this is not true. So on one hand, Muhammad Ali Jinnah was peddling this narrative that the majority of Hindus will gonna be eliminating us or fighting us. On the other side, you had Maulana Abul Kalam Azad along with Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, who were opposing the two-nation theory, and Maulana Abul Kalam Azad said that this is not true. At that time, the Muslims were 9%, and now you see in India, you have Muslims almost 15 to 18%. And compared with Pakistan, the Hindus were almost 30% in 1946, and now you see the Hindus have vanished in Pakistan. The Christian minority in Pakistan is dwindling, and not only Pakistan. You compare it with any Muslim majority country, and I'm a proud Muslim, by the way, but I have to admit this problem that in most of the Muslim majority countries, the minorities don't have equal rights. The minorities don't have the right. But when you compare it with India, India has given freedom and rights to not only the Muslims, but also the Muslim sects. There are various Muslim sects in India. You have the Shias, you have the Sunnis, you have the Barelvi, Sufi, you have Tablighi, Ahl Hadith, and all these groups, they have registered organizations, they have registered madrasas and masjids. They have been working, and they can celebrate Eid, and the Shias, they can celebrate their festivals. And you don't have the problem like you have in Pakistan right now. If the Shias are celebrating their Eid, you find the Sipahi Sahaba driving trucks into their gatherings and killing them. And when Sunnis are celebrating, you don't have the Sipahi Muhammad who comes and kill the Sunnis. But in India, the Muslims are really, really safe. And this fake propaganda has been happening for the past 7 decades. And unfortunately, I have to say that a lot of Muslim organizations, and not only the Muslim organizations, but also some of the minority appeasing political parties inside India, they also have been peddling this victimhood mentality. So the first thing the Muslims have to get out is the victimhood mentality, and this is what the Pakistan thrives on. And in fact, after the Pahalgam attack, and when India wanted to Pakistan to admit and to give out to arrest the terrorists, the Pakistan has been playing the same victim play card, and the Pakistan has been saying that no, we are the victims of terrorism, and we have been facing terrorism. At one side, you see Pakistan, for the sake of prosecution, it prosecutes Sajid Mir of Lashkar-e-Taiba just to show the world that it's fighting terrorists. On the other hand, you see giving the free hand to Hafiz Saeed and Masood Azhar. So Pakistan has been thriving on this narrative that the Muslims are not safe in India, and Muslims unfortunately fall easily into this trap. But in the recent past, we have seen on the X, and we have seen on the social media, and also off the social media, we have seen that the Indian Muslims, they have come forward and they have refuted this claim. When a UK-based Egyptian Islamist, Muhammad Hijabi, said that because of this Ummah factor, the Muslims of India should support Pakistan, including me and a lot of other Indian Muslims, we took to the social media and we confronted this guy, and we gave the counter argument that that's not true. And not only the Muhammad Hijab, a lot of other Pakistanis, when they came and said that the Muslims in India are not safe, the Muslims in India, they came up and they said that your narrative is not true. In fact, you're not safe, and we are sound and we are safe. And I talk about this with pride that I can travel from Kashmir to Kanyakumari with freedom and safety. And that's not the case with the Pakistani Muslims. I have interacted with a lot of Pakistani Muslims who say that the Pashtuns cannot travel to the areas of Punjabis, and Punjabis, they cannot freely travel to the areas of Pashtuns. And there are places in Waziristan and Peshawar where the people keep AK-47s, dozens of AK-47s in their houses. On the day of Eid, on the day of India-Pakistan match, they pull out the AK-47, they fire in the air, and it hurts and it kills a lot of people walking on the streets. We don't have such problem in India. So the Indian Muslims are educated. And let me tell you, when I travel to Middle East, when I interact with the Arab Muslims, they really respect the Indian Muslims. They see us as engineers, they see us as doctors, they see us as AI experts, they see us as cybersecurity experts. On the other hand, you see the Pakistani Muslims don't have that face.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the counter narrative, what India can do is to bring the Indian voices, the Indian Muslim voices, who can be vocal about their freedom, who can confront this Pakistani narrative, and I'm sure that over the time this can be achieved.
Absolutely. Viewers, a fascinating discussion with Zahack Tanvir, anti-jihad activist based in the US. One of the main takeaways for me is that this is not about religion. This is about a certain type of state and state establishment and its willingness to use religion to meet its power hunger, its willingness to use poisonous ideology in order to prolong its rule in Pakistan. So the military establishment as well as the clerical establishment that is aligned with it, as they say, Allah and army, the two have come together in Pakistan and become a very, very poisonous brew. And now we are talking about antidotes to this. And in the long run, India is already giving a befitting military response to Pakistani aggression and misadventures. But beyond the kinetic, we have to focus on the minds and hearts of young people, and the voices of moderate Muslims, especially from India, have to come out, and they need to show that there is a different way where you can manage faith and also nationalism, and the two can go together. The kind of fake nationalism that they've created in Pakistan, which is based on hatred and on violence, has to be rejected by the world. And until that time, this is going to be a long ideological struggle. I want to thank Zahack Tanvir for sharing valuable insights and for doing courageous work. Thank you, Zahack, for joining me.
Thank you, Sreeram, for inviting me. It's my honor. Thank you so much.
So viewers, the use of religion for geopolitical gain, for selfish ends, and to sustain one's power base, this is the core issue that we have uncovered today in this discussion. Without these usage or exploitation of religion, we would not have reached a point where we are calling Islamic Republic of Pakistan Terroristan. So Terroristan is a general threat not only to India and to its neighbors, but to the world. And we saw how the linkages in the name of global jihad have spread, the tentacles have spread worldwide, and it will require not just military responses, which India is doing, but also a kind of a concerted action on the behalf of all like-minded countries and people and social movements. This is going to be, an extended struggle, and we will not be able to reach a point where we can say the so-called civilizational clash has ended, because the jihadist mentality of Pakistan says that there is the two different nations and that Muslims and Hindus cannot coexist, or Muslims and non-Muslims cannot coexist. But we have to show that they can coexist, and we have to bring about a generational transformation in Pakistan, but also worldwide. So this is the real challenge going forward. It's in the hearts and minds of people where we have to wage a long counter jihad. Thank you for watching. I'll see you again next time. Until then, take care.